Well, hello there. It's good to see you again. Thank you for joining me at Pig Dog Productions. Today, I would like to talk to you about my time working on the Pixar movie Finding Nemo. It was back in 2003, and Pixar was still pretty new. I'd been doing a lot of design work for Disney, and Disney sort of loaned me out to Pixar. And it was very exciting at the time because computer animation was still a very new art form, and Pixar was just considered the top of the heap as far as exciting new filmmaking. So, what happens when you get invited to be a concept artist on a new film is that you have to dive in and do a lot of research and pull up reference material. And in the case of Finding Nemo, I didn't know anything much about the ocean world in terms of its geography and the environment. So I had my work cut out for me. Back then, in the old Disney model, we concept artists were given a lot of time to be on our own and explore and experiment without any pressure from the studio to come up with anything concrete and useful for the actual production. So I had months of just doing what I thought they might like, exploring ideas for different kinds of settings. I'd read the script, but they didn't want me to worry about the script element so much as just kind of get a feel for the project and learn the geography of or the oceanography of that environment and kind of become very familiar with it all. So that was pretty amazing. And in case you need a visual reference, although I don't know if this is going to be backwards, but this is the Finding Nemo book. So let's take a look at some artwork. I'm bringing you up close, but don't worry around. And I'm going to get my glasses on. So in the beginning, I am just thumbnailing rough little ideas, just thinking about things, making a lot of notes. Not really worried too much about whether or not they're going to like anything, and just feeling my way through the project. And then at some point, I started producing some color pieces. And back then, it was pencil or colored pencil or paint was the most common form of media that the concept artists would use. Ooh, I'm getting a glare there. Let's get rid of that glare. Ah, there, that's a little bit better. So this piece is sort of informative. It's a cluster of coral and ocean formations. And over on the side here, I broke it down into basic shapes, which was what they really found useful for how the modeling 3D department would start to build these things. And so they would build them as cylinders, tubes, triangular cones. They needed sort of that initial basic shape construction, and then they would add the textures and the surface beauty onto it. This was also just me exploring ideas, not worrying about too much. And then this gets back to the use of basic shapes in creating a landscape. And then these are just thumbnails, giving the art director lots of ideas on what these underwater spaces could look like. And I would wait for him to respond, and then maybe if something really caught his eye, then I would spend a little bit more time further developing it. And then at some point, what happens is they do want you to start to get more specific. This is a good example of the getting more specific, which was the sunken submarine that was used in as after Nemo gets off on his adventure. And so I had to do a lot of research to come up with what the inside of a submarine looked like. And then this might look familiar too. These were um, the water tanks that the fish lived in the dentist's office. So I did a lot of these. It was just exploring how a dentist might decorate his fish tank. And there's one idea after another. And sometimes you feel a little bit like you're a tie salesman, like, well, maybe it could be this. Or do you like that? Do you like the stripes? Do you like the polka dots? How about plaid? So that's a lot of what you do, is you give them as many ideas as they need before they can tell you what they don't want and then tell you what they do want. And a lot of that is the spirit of collaboration, where we as a concept artist don't get too attached to them using any one particular piece that we want to see in the movie. We just want to help the art director and the director decide for what, maybe this is not what they want, but that's okay because it helps them figure out what they do want. So we are all collaborating, and we're contributing to what's going to end up being on the film as a final product. But sometimes it's not what I did that ends up on the screen at all, but they still feel like I was really instrumental in helping them. I also got to do a storyboard sequence, which I don't often do. And this is a storyboard sequence that started as a series of thumbnails, which really don't look like much. But this was the end climax sequence where Nemo is trapped in the fish net with a bunch of other fish, and they're being pulled into the fishing trawler, and they're going to be harvested. And so I had the script at that point, and I did a lot of thumbnails for ideas for the storyboard sequence. And then I'll show you now how that turned out as more of a finished storyboard from those really rough thumbnails that you just saw. So these are kind of nicely rendered storyboards. There's another term for them, storybooking, I think is what they would call it, where it's a little bit nicer than a storyboard sketch, but not as nice as a really finished, polished product. But this is the fish are talking and responding to Nemo, who's trying to get him to fight the fishing trawler, and they bite the fishing net, and they start tugging away from the boat, which you can see way off there. There's the bottom of the boat from underneath the ocean. And they're pulling the net tighter and tighter and struggling more and more and more. And then the boat is starting to be pulled backwards. And then the winch is starting to grind to a halt. And then the fishermen are looking down, trying to figure out what's going on. Why is the boat not going anywhere? And so this is sort of what I did. And the great thing is, it was really helpful to the directors to stage that final sequence. So I don't often get asked to do storyboards, but this was a case where I really got to put some time into it and think it through and make it kind of fun and polished. And as you often do when a sequence gets more and more exciting and dramatic, and towards the final moment, the camera starts cutting closer and closer to the elements to pull you into the drama. And this is where the wenching device finally rips off of the boat, and it plunges into the water. And so the fish are then at that point able to get free. So let's just come back onto my face. Hello again. And I really had a good time on Finding Nemo. And the Pixar artists are really wonderful people to work with. And my favorite person there was the art director, Ralph Eggleston, who recently passed away. And he was a dear friend, and I sorely miss him. I'm just looking at this book right now because I was thrilled to get so many of my pieces in the book. And here's one that I had just shown you. And in the book, they talk about how these pieces were useful in helping them. And actually, there's that one that I showed you before. And this also shows about breaking things down into basic shapes. So thank you for spending a little bit of time with me. And now I'm kind of curious to go back and look at the movie. But I appreciate you taking a look. And I'm already thinking about what I'm going to do next. So take care, and we'll see you again. Bye-bye.